Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beatdown Bandits podcast. I am Colin, and in today's episode, we're going to discuss Apex Legends Season 7. Definitely super excited to talk about it. It's been out for a week now, at least of the day of recording this. It's been out for like 7 or 8 days. So I've kind of gotten through those first impressions. I did put out a real quick YouTube video on the first day of the release of Season 7. If you want to check that out, it's just like the first impressions, like those first couple games of the map. So now that we're a little bit more into it, I kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit more. So before I get into Season 7, I kind of want to jump back. Sorry, my phone is blowing me up here right now. But Season 6, I kind of want to jump back to that and kind of discuss that a little bit before I get into Season 7. So Season 6 was definitely not in a good state for me. It just wasn't really having fun with it anymore. And it's probably about the like halfway point through Season 6. Like I was just kind of like burned out with it. I know I took at least like 2 breaks for like a week or 2 off. And I only play Apex like twice a week for about 4 hours. Wednesdays and Saturdays, play for about 4 hours in the evening or so. And I couldn't even do that some days. Like I'd get on and play for like an hour or 2 and I was done. I'm like, no, I just don't feel like it. I'm just getting obliterated or whatever. It just wasn't fun for me. And, video games are supposed to be fun. And I disliked it. It was very stale and just wasn't in a good state. And I was playing like garbage. And even kind of looking back at my stats though, of all the seasons, Season 6, I had like by far the least amount of games played in a season. And, but I guess the one plus of Season 6 was that crossplay came out. And I felt like that helped for sure. And I got a chance to play with kind of some people that I hadn't played with before, which was very cool. There's still plenty of others that I would like to play with at some point, but I kind of doubt that they have me up high on their list. Because let's call a spade. They'd have to carry me pretty hard, and most people don't look forward to that. And so, other things in Season 6, Rampart was poo-poo. I dislike Rampart a lot. I feel like her personality is good. I just don't feel like her abilities, Sheila, I feel like they're garbage. I know she got a buff in Season 7. I don't think it's enough. Like I think I died one time from a Sheila since Season 6 and 7, and that was only because it was a flying drone Sheila. That was the only time I've ever died. And really, I died because I stopped to look at it. Like, it was the first time I saw it. And like, what am I looking at right now? And that was the only time I've ever died by one. I might have 2 or 3 kills, but I only played Rampart like that first week or 2 that she came out. But, the buff probably helps a little bit. It's still just not very good in my opinion. Honestly, I haven't given her that much of a shot, but nobody else is playing her, and I feel like that's good enough for me to realize, yeah, she's still garbage. The map changes that happened in World's Edge were good, and that kind of added some new stuff to the season, and even like the older changes in Kings Canyon with all the things that happened there over the last like 2 seasons were also nice. It was good to kind of get that stuff added. I guess like salvage and stuff came like in Season 5 with Loba. But really it just wasn't enough to keep me intrigued with all the the countdown areas and stuff that were added into World's Edge and launch site, things like that. It was just a failure. I know back in Season 5, I made a video called My Wish List for Season 6. And the number one thing that I talked about, and I wrapped up the video with this talking point also, was the big thing that I needed for Season 6 to keep me into it was a new map. And that failed. We didn't get the new map for Season 6. And that's fine because honestly, like maybe it wasn't ready and they needed to get it finished for season 7. And I'm okay with that. I'd rather have a polished, perfect map, which I kind of feel like Olympus is, and we'll get into that. So I don't know. I guess that's the biggest thing is like I wanted that map for season 6 and it didn't happen, and it season 6 got really stale and old and kind of depressing for me. But now here we are in season 7. I feel like things are a lot better and smoother. The changes that they've made have been amazing. The legend for this season is amazing. The map is amazing. So let's just get into those. Okay, so let's start with Olympus because I already hinted at that. Is Olympus is gorgeous. It's extremely unique compared to the other maps. Every kind of POI, point of interest, is different. It has good enough loot, I feel like, for at least a squad or two. I know there's definitely times in some of the other maps that you'd land at even at a POI and like walk out of there with like nothing. Even like Skull Town, like jumping back to that, like the 3 or 4 squads that would pretty much land there every time, there's not enough loot for that. And which made it interesting. It made it like, okay, you got to fight over this location. You know you're going to get in a fight early, and sometimes that's cool. Sometimes not. If you want to try to win, I don't know. So it just depends on the person, I guess. But the loot I feel is really good at every POI, and like I said, they're all unique and different, and they give different perspectives of everything. It's just so much drastically different than the other two. Especially like if you look at like the bright colors, and new things to explore. I mean, it's comparing like just the colors of the map to World's Edge, and then even darker like Kings Canyon. Like it's pretty cool. It's good to see. There's new Nessies to find. The Tridents are very cool and fun to just kind of goof off with and ramp off things. And I'm slowly kind of finding like my kind of favorite areas to land and to be able to loot up and rotate out of. Rotations are going to take some time. I'm not amazing at those yet because it's only been a week and I've only played a couple different days. But like hydroponics, grow towers, gardens, oasis, carrier, docks, even like I didn't like docks the first time I landed there, but then I started landing there like right kind of in between docks and carrier a little bit, and that area's actually been very helpful. So I've kind of liked that. Those have kind of been kind of some of my favorites here recently, and then I'm kind of currently checking out and kind of getting used to. The jump towers are a bit taller this season. I noticed like right off of the bat, like the drop ship is maybe a little bit lower, or something. Like you can't quite make it as far. So the flying and the jump master aspect is a little bit different. Coming out of there, like you can't quite make it as far. So I feel like maybe it's a little bit lower. And the map is a little bit more wavy. One of my friends pointed that out to me. Is like you'll notice like certain parts, like it kind of is concaved maybe a little bit. So trying to get farther, you're kind of flying into a hill, so maybe you're not going to make it as far. So that's kind of another unique aspect of that. But yeah, the Trident, definitely want to talk about that. It's definitely a great way to kind of get around. I'm sorry, I'm kind of looking at my notes here, like of things I don't want to miss. The Trident, definitely a great way to kind of get around the map. The only problem, and I made note of this in my first impressions with the Trident video, is it draws a lot of attention. So if you're looking to get pushed by like a third party, then a fourth party, then a fifth party, and so on and so forth, the Trident is for you. You can easily third party people with it if you time those things right, but another's going to come because people can hear that Trident coming from pretty far away. So it's going to bring attention. So just be aware of that. You're definitely not taking as much damage from it. That was a big worry of mine on the first impressions video, was if you're in it, your whole team is taking damage. It's not much, and it also is very hard to hit. And if you need to get out of dodge, the Trident is a great resource for that. So if there's one near, or you brought one in with you, you're fighting, it's not going as planned, and you need to pull back, that Trident is the ideal escape opportunity. So that is kind of a benefit for it. The things you can put on it, the caustic gas traps, you can drive up to people with that gas going, the dome if you need to, really get away and be protected. So if you have a Gibraltar on your team, that's handy. The turret, I've already talked about Sheila. I'm not a fan, but you can put a Sheila on there. But it's so rare that that happens. And every time I hear Sheila shooting, I'm never worried, to be honest. People don't hit their shots with it. So yeah, having a sniper rifle or something this season, a G7, a Hemlock, which I'll talk about later, the Wingman, is something just definitely you kind of want to be comfortable with. So if you're like I only use SMGs type of a person, I would maybe suggest to people, and I'm not good by any means, but I feel like this map uh, goes well towards like having an SMG and having some type of long range type of thing, or at least medium range, like a Hemlock. Even like a 301 works fine as well. But having something that you can hit at a distance, like the areas around like Hammond Labs are so open and so just sniper friendly. And especially with Hammond Labs being like right in the center of the map, it gets very crowded very quick, and it gets a lot of attention. So if you enjoy snipers, maybe try landing at like the solar array. There's always tons of sniper equipment there. There's always different, all like pretty much any type of sniper rifle you want is always going to be there. I think there's a lot of times there's a gold sniper there as well. You'll find every attachment needed. You'll find tons of scopes and tons of sniper stocks. You'll find everything you need right there. So it's very sniper friendly. But you can grab whatever you need there. That it's always packed. The rifts and portals are always a lot of fun as well. Definitely quick ways to get around the map. There's a lot of opportunities that kind of go with those that I think we'll find out as the season goes on. We'll find new things to kind of do with that. And but it's a great way to get around a good chunk of the map really quick. However, I've noticed that they do get a little campy by a lot of caustics, and teams just kind of waiting to pounce. As somebody who's a former Watson main, and not necessarily a Watson main, I don't really feel like it, but I have more games with her in there, is like that's a good opportunity for those of just setting up fences and forming that triangle right there where they're hitting it twice and they just have no opportunity to get back. But I've seen a lot of caustic barrels setting as soon as they come out of one. Like I can see the barrels right there and the team's just standing there ready to shoot. So it's an opportunity for teams to pounce on. So just kind of be wary of that before kind of jumping through one. But it's also a great time to be bait of going through there and then having teams follow you back. And just using it as bait to bring somebody through. That might be coming from experience, but I don't really want to talk about that. So let's talk about Horizon. Horizon, I feel like of all the legends that have come that are new into the game, she is by far like the most perfectly balanced to just drop and not be insanely OP or insanely just useless. The thing is, like, nothing is OP with her because you can get out of that black hole fairly easily if you're her enemy. And I mean, you can watch her tactical lift it up and watch where they go. You can see them setting up there sometimes, just setting ducks or whatever, just over your head. But playing as Horizon, she's a lot of fun for sure. I'm not great with her, so I probably won't play with her a ton. But she can be played solo for sure because of just how well she can flank or whatever, and the black hole doesn't need to be communicated with a team. But she's definitely more fun playing with a team for like 100%, because if you can communicate when you're using that black hole and tossing that ultimate out at a team, especially if you have like a Caustic or a Gibraltar or a Bangalore or anybody who has nades with you, those black holes can be a lot of fun, especially like in game. And just a piece of advice to people, I've been in a couple in games with Horizons, and they toss it like in the middle of the circle, but you're basically keeping people in there and you're keeping everybody in there. So if you're playing as Horizon and you're making it to the end game, and you see like one team on the other side of you, try to toss your black hole behind them or beside them outside of the ring. So it's pulling them out there to get extra damage. Don't put it in the middle where everybody's basically protected and you're pulling everybody to each other. Put it away and pull them outside to get that extra ring damage. So that I feel like is more important with her. Just my piece of advice. The flanks that she can do with her gravity lifts are absolutely amazing. I've had a couple nice kills that way, just kind of going up and over buildings and coming in behind somebody when they didn't expect it. Has been great. You can completely bamboozle people. And I myself got bamboozled really good and costed a win for sure. So it's going to happen to everybody. I was Horizon, and I was fighting a Horizon on the other side, and I saw her thing go down. I didn't see her go up, and I'm sitting here because I had tossed my black hole. I'm shooting at it, and like, where the heck did she go? And then I get lasered from behind. So she popped up and over. I had no idea. So it's very possible. But she's really perfect for this map. All the different little elevation changes and ramps, it works so well for her. All the like slightly tallish buildings that are hard to climb up, she can get up and over them like nothing. So it opens up a lot of cool opportunities for her to do things. And I think she'll work very well on World's Edge as well, because there's similar things on that map. But I'm kind of honestly waiting for like these Horizon gravity lift black hole Kraber 360 trick shot videos to come out. They're going to be pretty amazing for sure. Okay, so I also want to talk about a few other legends for this season. I want to start with Octane. So right towards the end of season 6, I did start playing as Octane a little bit, just because as I mentioned, I played a lot of Watson. And I started playing a little bit of Caustic. Like, I felt like he could be aggressive, and with like teammates that would just always leave. Caustic I feel like can handle like a 1v2 or 1v3 a little bit better if you can get into a building. He's a little bit harder to fight. So I played a lot of Caustic because I have horrible luck with randoms that die and leave or whatever, or push stupid fights. So I switched to him a little bit. And Watson, it's harder to win those fights just because she doesn't have that super aggressive like tactical or ultimate that Caustic does. But I had played with those two mostly over the last like 2 seasons. And making that switch to Octane was I felt like something I just wanted for like a little bit more of an escapability. Like, let's try something a little less hold down the fort, because my teammates were always gone, and a little bit more aggressive. And I'm not a super aggressive player when it comes to Apex. I kind of would appreciate a little bit more of that support role, like a Watson or a Lifeline or something. I'm not ever going to be like a Wraith main or something. I'm just not that good. I can't hit that shots. I can rotate really well. I'm very good with strategy and things like that. I just don't hit as many shots, so I don't necessarily want to be like the leading bloodhound or something like that. I do with like my friends because I play most, and I understand those rotations a little bit better in the strategy. So I tend to be that guide with that person, but I've always done it as Watson. But the reason why I always disliked Octanes was because they always had a tendency to do their own thing, and very unpredictable and unreliable. So I've always disliked it. So like at the Legend selection screen, anytime my random would pick Octane, I would literally just shrug and just say, ugh, here comes another Octane, basically. And I hated it. But if I was that Octane random, I wouldn't have to worry about some crazy wild card. I could be that crazy wild card, right? So, and plus with his buff basically in season 7, where he's get this extra health boost, and his health regenerates so much faster. You almost don't need to carry more than like 4 syringes for health. So he's so far has kind of been my main pick for season 7. I've actually really enjoyed playing with him. So yeah, I mean, he's I think I tweeted it the other day, was I am slowly and regrettably becoming an Octane main. He is a lot of fun. And I really just play public matches, and he works really well in public matches. I probably would never play him in ranked. I just feel like that's weird and not as helpful for my team. But in public matches where I can kind of do whatever and it doesn't matter if I die, Octane is pretty useful. So I'll stop making fun of all the Octane randoms, okay? And as mentioned, Watson. So Watson, I love 100%. She's been my favorite legend since she came out and probably will be until the day I die. I do love her kit and her possibilities that she has. While her fences did get like a small damage buff this season, she still, I feel like, needs some type of rework to be useful in pubs. I'm a little worried that Respawn thinks like, okay, she's not useful in pubs, but she's very useful in competitive play and high ranked games. So we're okay with that. She doesn't need to be somebody that needs to be super useful in pubs because she's useful over here. And a lot of teams build their teams around a Watson when it comes to like competitive teams or, esports and pro teams. Like they build around Watsons, and it's very common. I love her, and I'm not good enough to be really more than like a gold player. That's just not me. One, I get bored with it. I don't have the time to grind to get much higher. Like I said, I want to play once or twice a week, really. So I don't have time to get above that where Watson becomes more useful. Because even in gold, I'm playing with like silver players who don't care if they die real quick because they're only losing like 12 RP or something. So it's not that big of an effect to just die off of the die and be strategic. So in gold, like I want to start becoming a little more strategic, and losing 24 RP real quick is a little bit more devastating. So when I get to that level, I try to slow play a little bit more and be a little bit smarter about the fights I take. And Watson for pubs is just not a great pick, I don't think. And I would like her to be that way because I want to play with her more. And honestly, like so far in season 7, I haven't played with her at all. But I don't know. Like maybe it's just the ultimate pylons need to kind of last longer or something, but there's got to be some type of tweak that can happen with her. So yeah, I mean, I know like the openness of Olympus just kind of makes it a little bit more challenging for her to be useful, I think. So I'll be curious when like the Apex Legends Global Series comes back for this season. And kind of see what the pro teams do with Watson. And maybe that'll just kind of give me ideas. I'm usually pretty creative with Watson, and especially if I have time. But there's limited choke points, I feel like, this season, especially with like the Trident. Now that might be some type of an advantage that Watson has, is the fences do slow down the Trident, and especially if people are going crazy and they're going fast and they're trying to rotate. Maybe that's where Watson comes into play is the Trident preventer. I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm very curious what happens with pro teams. But yeah, those open spaces with Watson, if you have a Watson on your team, those open spaces are a bit of a hindrance as you're getting from point A to point B in some type of rotation. She doesn't offer much for kind of locking that type of stuff down, especially with like the elevation changes. And I picture like Hammond Labs area. There's the house above with like the water ramps or whatever, the water slides. Watson is just a sitting duck down there. If you don't have like a Gibraltar or a Bloodhound or something that you're playing with, or a Pathfinder or a Wraith that can move your squad faster. She's going to be rough. So she's got to be the one. If you can make it to end game, super, super useful. So I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of preaching to everybody who knows what the status is of Watson. So yeah, if you can work with like a Crypto or a Bloodhound or a Pathfinder to kind of find where those end rings are a little bit more, she does become more useful. But that's not going to happen in pubs matches. People in public matches just kind of want to push fights and kills and get damage. And so I get that 100%. So honestly, because I haven't played ranked this season, I haven't played her. I haven't touched her. So It'll take some time, and I might start busting her out here soon, just because I want to play with her again, and kind of see what kind of creativity I can come up with on these maps, and using those fences. So I'm not going to write her off yet. I just feel like she needs some type of tweak. So finally, kind of last legend I do want to talk about, and I want to kind of get into guns, and then I'll wrap up. But I want to talk about Loba. So I was never a fan of Loba uh, uh, at all, because I feel like she causes more problems than what she's worth. Um, so I mean, I swear that girl gets her team killed more than anybody else, and probably even more than like charging wraiths or octanes that kind of push fights and die and get down, and now your teammates are stuck trying to get you up or get your banner. Is Lobas are natural looters anyway, right? So that's what they're very good at. While she can be very handy on your team to get something like, oh, I really need an extended mag, or I'm desperate for ammo, like she is very useful for that. But something I've started like midway through season 6 is what I started telling myself, and I try to tell like the people that I play with, is loot death boxes, not buildings. So loot super fast. Like I want to start setting like timers on looting, and when you drop, you want to loot a couple buildings, but then it's like it's time. Once you have those guns and you have an armor, you don't need to worry about attachments. Get attachments from the people you kill, and I'm really trying to push that out as much as I can, and really focus on looting boxes and not buildings. So I'm trying to do better with that. So yeah, again, it's just, people get so stuck in those Loba shops, and they sit there and debate and debate and debate about, oh, I only get 2 things. What am I going to do? So, but when she puts that shop down, it's very noticeable, and it can keep somebody there for a long time in those like internal debates about what I want to get. And they want to make that right decision because they're limited to those 2 items. So I was playing the other day, and I came walking into Rift, and I saw a building with like 6 or 7 like death boxes outside of it. And so I kind of naturally headed that way. Like, one, is there somebody over here? And so headed that way with my team, and I saw, as I got closer and closer, I saw all of a sudden the Loba shop open up. You can kind of see that gray or that like silver diamondish color ring pop out when the shop goes down and gets opened. And so I saw it, but they had no idea because it's kind of loud when she puts it down, and they had no idea. So I came walking up, looked literally right through a window of one of those round buildings in Rift, and we just lit them up. And they were all dead before they even knew what was going on, because they were all stuck and looting in Loba's little shop. So, they just had no idea, and they just couldn't get off fast enough to not die. And no offense to any Loba mains out there, it can be really useful. My problem is everyone that I've really played with just tends to fall way behind because of a loot obsession. So that's really my issue, and especially if and I also actually I really like cryptos as well, but every time I get with like a Loba and a crypto, I have to go super slow. I can't push fights because they're stopped. So there are some cryptos that are super aggressive. Match, who plays on Xbox, and there's like Il Spooky, who's one of my favorites. I love watching his streams and stuff, and they're both of those guys are so good with crypto, and but most people don't play crypto that way. They're super slow about it. When those guys have insane movement and they just push. So, Lobas don't tend to be that way. They have to stop and loot, and so that's kind of my issues with those 2 people. Okay, so enough complaining. Okay, I'm gonna stop complaining. So one last thing though, and that I do want to talk about is kind of the guns and like the gun loadouts that maybe you should try and give a shot if you have like your favorites. Try new things. I discovered a new gun that I'm going to talk about in like season 3 that I rarely would pick up, or maybe it was season 4. that I would rarely pick up, and then I fell in love with it, and I've been in love with it ever since. And even for season 7 now, like it's probably my favorite gun. Anyway, um, basically I want to talk about like the guns that I like to pick up and I like to use, some guns that I just like to avoid if I can, and some that I've pretty much banned from my hands for the season unless I'm landing with other teams and I have really no other options. So warning, this might be controversial. Okay. All right. So I got to get this off my chest. Is the R99 is overrated. You can dislike, you can complain to me, you can comment on the video that I'm an idiot. You got to do what you got to do. I understand that, and really, it's just me. I don't hit my shots with it. I just don't. Um, I don't know. I'm not good with it. It's honestly embarrassing. Everybody's like, oh, everybody's running 99s. A lot of people running like double 99s. I pick it up. I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel good. It's kitted. I got a purple mag. I'm ready to go. And I miss every shot from 20 feet away. Like I miss them all. It goes high. I shoot over their heads. I don't know what it is. I miss. I can get in the firing range and do it all day, but I get in a game with the 99, I miss them all. It's embarrassing. The only way that I felt like I could hit shots and that started working for me was bursting with the 99, which you really shouldn't do. And that was like the only time I was hitting shots with it. And it's like, I got to stop picking this up. So finally the other day when I was playing, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with the 99 for the season. So I'm not going to pick it up. And I'm actually having luck with other guns. So yeah, maybe that's just me. The Wingman is kind of one of those other guns that is really like, it's odds. Like I feel like when I pick it up, I've got about a 25% chance of having a good day with it. And if I play well with it in one game, odds are like the whole day, every game I play with, I'll pick it up and I'll have some kills with it. I'll get some knocks. I'll make some cool shots with it. And I'll have a good day. But 75% of the time, I feel like it either like no regs or like I just miss everything and I can't hit a shot. So Wingman is also one of those ones that I rarely avoid. The only time like I feel like I will be gravitated to it and I'll pick it up is if I find like a skull piercer like early and I'm like, okay, let's do the Wingman because I can get it equipped really fast and I can get it kitted out. So that's about the only time. But guns I love this season. So starting with the light guns is I have two like go-tos, and that's 301 and the alternator. I mean, they're just perfect guns in my opinion. I love them. I hit my shots with them a lot. 301 at almost any range. It works really well for mid to kind of close range. And then the alternator is just kind of my go-to finisher gun if I'm running like double lights or I have that equipped. That's just my kind of go-to like SMG type thing. The ulti up close actually does work really good with hip fire. I was really testing it out last night when I was playing. And I'm like, I'm just going to get up in people's businesses. Like I just wanted to test it. And it worked surprisingly well. You definitely need like at least like a blue or a purple mag to go with it. And it does work well. It's not as great as like ideally, like, yeah, it would be great to have a Spitfire up close and just hip fire that sucker. And I could kill everyone. But no, the alternator is surprisingly decent with hip fire. So test it out. A lot of people don't like it for whatever reason, but it's an underrated gun. The RE45 is better with the quick draw. So if you can find that quick draw hop up, it's really good. And I've shredded with the RE45 in the past and just straight up murdered lobbies. But I would still any day of the week still pick up a 301 or an alternator over the RE45. I'll give the quick hop up a little bit more, the quick draw hop up a little bit more time this season. I want to give it one of these games. I'm just going to run like double RE45s with the hop ups and just try to see what I can do. Heavy guns for me, and so this is my favorite secret. If a lot of people have always avoided this gun because they didn't like it because of the burst, and then it's the Hemlock. That's been by far my favorite gun of season 7 is the Hemlock. People slept on it from day 1 all the way up to about season 4 or season 5. but I started using it like exclusively in like season 3, and that was like my my highest KD of all seasons is when I started like, let's try this hemlock. And what did it for me is when I switched it to single fire. When I switched it to single fire, I was fighting in the little cave that goes from Skyhook out to like that pavilion type thing that overlooks like train yard, the tower, not the pavilion, the tower right outside there. I was fighting in there with that down, and I lit up an entire team with a single fire hemlock, and it was amazing. I'm like, yeah, this is my go-to from here on out. And so I do not sleep on the hemlock unless I'm just feeling like other guns that day. Hemlock is my go-to, like a backup. I use it as a sniper up close, shoddy. I use it as everything basically. It's so versatile. The 3-round burst, even getting a nerf this season, is still very good up close. Works very well with hip fire, and even the single fire works really well with hip fire. But honestly, when I pick up a hemlock, I immediately switch it to single fire and utilize it that way. It's been very helpful. But I do feel like it's not a secret anymore. But that single fire hemlock still isn't utilized very often. I don't feel like I get shot with it very often. But it works great at every range. So I'm just letting you know that now, like, give it a shot. And I do mean every range. Okay, the hip fire up close with it with a single fire is insane. I mean, as fast as you can spam that trigger, works really well. Medium and even sniper distances, it smacks with that hemlock smacks, and especially if you can get that 3-time HCOG, man, that's what dreams are made of, is a hemlock with a 3 times, I think, on it. Bruiser, again, very acceptable. It's a little bit more of a medium range, but that 3 times, if I can get that and I can find that early, I know I'm in for at least like a 1,200 damage game, unless something crazy happens. But try it out if you haven't already. If you can get the Prowler out of the care package, you need to drop a gun and pick up the Prowler. If you leave it in the care package and you don't want to grab it, then you're gonna die by it. So I'll just tell you that now. If you find it, get it, drop something. Shotguns, Mozambique all the way, right? No, I'm just kidding. EVA 8 is acceptable. A lot of people aren't big fans of the double tap. I love it. But Mastiff 100% is where it's at. It's just so devastating. It's often my secondary weapon, as like my finisher gun. So if I don't run like a Hemlock, then I'm usually running a Mastiff as my secondary. I run like an SMG or a 301 or something with a Mastiff. Works really well. Energy guns, the Havoc recoil is better, but I feel like I still have to be pretty close to utilize it. So I don't usually run the Havoc unless I get it early. The Volt is a great gun in my opinion. In my opinion, better than the 99. That's controversial, I understand, but currently I would much rather have a Volt than a 99. It does, I think, does like 1 more damage per shot. I could be wrong on that. I'm not positive, but I feel like it does. I just hit my shots with it. That to me is much more important than, oh, I'm just carrying a 99 and I'm gonna miss all my shots. So I'd much rather have a gun, even if it does less damage. If I hit my shots, it's much more important to me. But please, I'm asking everybody, can we please leave the devotions on the ground? Please leave them there. I know it's tempting. I know it's very tempting to pick those up, because you can get easy knocks and kills with them, but it sucks to be on the other end of it, and we've all been there. It needs to be a care package gun, 100%. It needs to go in there. The Devo is so toxic. It needs to be in that, okay? It's just not a fair fight for anybody. So it's just not fun for anybody to be on either end. I don't feel like if I get knocks with a devotion, I don't feel good about it because I'm using a devotion, man. I'm using a care package gun. Like, I shouldn't feel like, oh man, I'm awesome because I'm using a gun that's 10 times better than they're using. So please, I'm asking everybody, like, let's go and protest together and leave the devotion on the ground and pick up something else. Everything else is acceptable. Leave the devotion on the ground, please, please. Okay, snipers. Let's jump into those. Triple take, pretty much the only one that I would touch because it could double as a shotgun. But I actually started liking the longbow, like finally. Sentinel to me is just kind of poo-poo. I don't hit my shots with a Sentinel. And longbow I never did until like right into like the end of season 6. I picked it up and I ended up getting like 3 kills with it like super quick. And I'm like, how did I get this damage and how did I get these kills? It ended up being the longbow, and I was hitting shots with it. So I started grabbing it a little bit more and having a little bit more fun with it. The charge rifle, it just is what it is. I don't see too many people pick it up and utilize it anyway. So, it's fine. Especially if you want to upgrade your armor or whatever, then, feel free to use it. But to me, it just kind of feels toxic. Not quite as bad as the Devo, but it just seems kind of unfair. So I mean that's it for me for today. Again, I recommend everybody try out Horizon. Let me know what you think of the map. Let me know what you think of Horizon. If you feel like this season's better, there are improvements, things are bad. What you want to do with Watson? Like I'm very curious what people's thoughts are on Watson, because I love her and I want her to be good in pubs. I just don't feel like it's gonna happen. So kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. Okay, everyone. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I do appreciate you all stopping by and watching or listening or both, hopefully. But be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, please. It definitely helps me out. And remember, if you want to listen to the audio versions, you can check out this podcast over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's it. Thanks for watching. Later.